Hey, it's Tim.
And it's Amy from GoWithLess. We are so glad that you're here with us today. We are sharing a pretty difficult conversation that is about a big hurdle that we were faced with in the very beginning of our nomadic fire journey. It has not been an easy start to our new life, and we hit a huge hurdle and we had to overcome it. So we're going to be talking about what that hurdle was and how we dealt with it in today's video. I hope that you will stay tuned.
We come out with a new video every Wednesday. Please be sure and give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and ring that little notification bell.
Now, if you've been watching our past few weeks' videos, you'll know that we had a house sit cancel. It's a 1-month house sit in the north of San Francisco area, which is a very, very, very expensive part of the United States, and a 1-month house sit canceled with only 2 weeks' notice.
In addition to only having 2 weeks notice, we were also faced with the fact that this was Valentine's Day weekend that our sit was scheduled to start. And it was also a long weekend because it was President's Day. So there are a lot of things going on here that make people want to travel. And so getting on a plane for those 2 occasions, anytime there's a long weekend, people get on planes, and so it's more expensive to travel. It's also more expensive to be in places starting during these holiday weekends. And so we were looking at all the options. We wanted to potentially go to South America. We potentially wanted to go to Mexico. We looked at the southern part of the U.S. We looked at Tucson and Phoenix
Central America.
Central America. So we tried to vet all the options and look for something that was affordable, where we could get there affordably and stay there affordably. And at the end of the day, we figured we didn't find anything that we wanted to afford. We could have spent some money and solved this problem and stayed in one place consistently for a month, but we decided not to do that.
And we are going to share what we are doing because it's kind of surprising, I think. But here's the thing, is that we were cheap. Both of us were really cheap. We could have tossed money to make this problem go away of having this open month. Now, there were a few things that we weren't going to compromise upon. We were not going to go somewhere cold. We wanted to be in nice warm weather. First of all, we have 10 months of our clothing with us, and like the coldest that we can really be in these clothes are like 40 degrees. So we weren't going to be going to northern US or to like Seattle or places that are real like wet or anything like that. So we did want nice weather, and we also wanted to keep our budget in mind. So here it is, the very beginning of our journey. We coincided our nomadic life with a calendar year. So February, tossing in, we estimated that it would be about $2,000 with the extra airfare and 1-month Airbnb, even a very affordable Airbnb with short notice for a month was going to cost us about $2,000 extra. So we were, very hesitant to add that at the very beginning of our budgeting. We are trying to hit $36,000 spending this year just to see if we can.
Yeah, so $3,000 a month has been our sort of run rate for the past 4 years, Amy?
Well, not last year, but before that, yeah.
So basically, we're still aiming for this $3,000 a month worth of spending. It's just an arbitrary number. It has nothing to necessarily do with what we can spend using the 4% rule or 3% rule. However, it's something that we have as a target. And so spending this amount, this extra $2,000 potentially this early in this new phase of our life just didn't seem right. And so Amy said, we were cheap, and in hindsight, we still believe if we were to go back and do it again, the lessons we're learning now are worth learning, so we probably still would have been cheap. However, in the future, we would probably not be this cheap, and we would spend the money and
we learned the lessons.
We learned the lessons.
We don't need to learn them again.
We don't need to learn them again. We would go be someplace where it is affordable.
So here's what we substituted our 1-month stay for. Now keep in mind that the 1-month stay was going to be the first time in 6 months that
6
we had
weeks.
6 months that we had a break. The last 4 months of 2019, we were immersed in getting rid of our things and our home and saying goodbye to our friends and travels and setting up our new life. Really, really immersed. I am 16 weeks behind in responding to YouTube video comments. We've been promising all these travel hacking blog posts. We haven't had any time whatsoever to sit down. So here we are looking forward to a month in one place, just chilling out. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere and just looking forward to like buckling down and like hunkering down and catching up. Tim does our taxes, works on our website, stuff like that. So when that canceled, we looked at options and like kind of vacation-y Airbnb options just to still have that break. And then we said, well, let's see if we can fill in with house sits. Now, here's what we filled this in with. We took our 1 month and we filled in with a week in Oakland, California with the cutest puppy ever. Actually, we've had a whole bunch of cute puppies, but this is like a super duper cute puppy. But it was a week sit. And the puppy's a lot of work. So we had to have like eyeballs on her at all times, or she might be chewing an electrical cord or peeing in the house, stuff like that. Nothing, she's a really great, lovely puppy, but that's a puppy. Then we came to north of San Francisco and we're now at a house sit with 3 dogs right now, and there isn't a car. We're really in the middle of a beautiful area. It's very quiet and very peaceful. It's a really lovely home, but we don't have a car, and we are 2 miles away from like the nearest convenience store, which isn't even a good option for our groceries. So we're kind of stuck here, and it's hard because you need some food. You need some like basic things when you live somewhere, and we're learning that 5 days, 1 week is way too short because we're trying to get used to a home and the pets and like get our groove on for cooking and I don't know, unpack, stuff like that. So when we're only in a place for a short time, that's tricky.
So tomorrow we're leaving this sit, heading down on a plane to Long Beach, California for a short sit there. It's 5 days as well. After that, we're going to Vegas. We found a really, really cheap hotel room for 3 nights in Vegas. We're going to be there. That happens to be over my birthday. So we're on a plane again to get to Vegas. And then after Vegas, we're on a plane to Phoenix, and we're going to be in Phoenix for a week. And then after Phoenix, we're back to our original plans. We're going to be in New Orleans and sort of doing our New Orleans plans and then moving on with our original plans.
So that 1 month.
Yep, that 1 month, it actually took 10 unique events between airfare and lodging and hotels and Airbnbs. It took 10 different things to fill in what we had planned to have with one 30-day house sit.
That's right, which was, I guess it sent us kind of into a tailspin. So in addition to what Tim mentioned, we had a 1 night at a hotel in Oakland. We're going to have 1 night at an Airbnb in Long Beach because the homes don't have room to accommodate us. So there's like a lot of stopping and starting and stopping and starting. Well, that's very difficult, and I think that we're going to burn out really, really quickly if we keep up with that sort of life. I don't think it's very pleasant.
No, it's not pleasant at all. So it's way too fast, and this isn't what we signed up for when we decided to become nomadic. This is just happened to fall in our lap this way when this 1 month sit canceled. And I think a lot of the lessons we're relearning now, we already knew. Things like the sit we're on right now is a little too remote for us. This isn't something that we would have signed up for months ago, but because we were, I don't want to say we were desperate, but we were looking for situations to do this gap filling. And so we took things that weren't ideal, and we're sort of paying the price. And so I think this is where, again, with hindsight, we're learning the lessons, but with hindsight, we definitely, in the future, if we were to have an extended sit cancel, we'd look for a sit that's an equal amount of time. If we couldn't find that, we're going to go and pay to be somewhere.
And hopefully we don't have cancellations short notice. Now, the cancellation was a really good reason. This wasn't flaky. This was a medical reason, totally legitimate. The homeowner even offered to compensate us for some of the money that we're out of pocket. She's not aware of the effort and the expense that it's going to take to make all this happen. Even though we're doing a lot of house sitting, again, we have a couple nights at hotels and Airbnbs, 3 additional flights that we hadn't planned on, all the transportation that's associated with that. So we're not going to be billing her anything or even letting her know that happened.
Yeah, and a lot of our flights, by the way, so we have this companion pass with Southwest Airlines, and so
that means I fly, he flies free.
So it was like maybe for all those 3 flights, the total was under like $250 for all 3 flights in points. So it wasn't even like we paid cash, and so you won't.
Our points are worth something.
Our points are certainly worth something, but it was free in the terms of our budget for the month.
And now, had we maintained our home in Denver, Colorado, today, this afternoon, it felt like 5 degrees is what my weather app showed in Denver, Colorado. 5 degrees Fahrenheit for our international
So the reason
viewers.
You're saying that is, even if we had a home, so many of our viewers had said, why didn't you keep your place? You could just go back there. So even if we kept that home, that's not a place where we want to be. We don't want to be back in 5 degree weather. And then also if we kept it and had it as a rental property, we still couldn't go back there. So we don't have any interest. Someone would be in it. So we don't have any interest in having a home base. We're still satisfied with our plans. It's just we have to tweak things along the way, and this was a sort of a bad way to start things. Also, if you remember from our prior videos, we've been sick for the better part of this time.
5 weeks
For 5
sick.
weeks. And so we're
Now
finally,
we're- yeah,
we think
we're
we're
good.
clear of that now. And so, but that's also added to the agita of just making this come together.
Now, where Denver is not just 5 degrees today, it's actually been cold and nasty, like for weeks. All my friends on Facebook are posting this. We couldn't be happier that we aren't in that area, and we are following this spring-like. It turns out that this spring
gorgeous.
weather is where it's at. So I am a summer person. I've always said how much I love summer, but summer can be really, really, really hot. And I still like summer. I like the long days. I like the outdoor activities and all the fun concerts outside and things like that. But I really am not into like 95-degree weather, or especially if there's humidity involved. So here we are, we're having 65, 75 degrees every single day for like the past 5 or 6 weeks. So the weather where we've been has been almost like perfection and really nice. Like it's been spring and all the trees are blooming
Yep.
and like exploding with color. And so it's really like a cool thing that we've been able to experience all these different springs.
Yep.
Yeah. So, okay, so we've learned we don't want to take sits that are too short. We're really looking at like 2 weeks plus. Now, are we going to be having a little flexibility? Potentially, yes. But in general, we're looking for 2 weeks plus, even closer to 4 weeks. We are looking at places where we're not just like in the middle of nowhere with no transportation, no car, and kind of a expensive option to get to. We could have taken an Uber, but for us to go get a sandwich, it would have cost us $20 to go get a sandwich with a round trip Uber. And that would be a really cheap Uber. Maybe it's even more expensive here. So we weren't willing to spend $20 to go get a sandwich in town. So we were not really like living the life that we want to be living around stuff and people and activities and culture. And
We're also learning about the pet situations, and so sleep is something that's very important to us. And so in different situations, the pets have actually slept with us in bed, and so that's been a challenge for our sleep. We've also learned to ask questions, or we're learning to sort of figure out what our questions are going to be. Do the pets let you sleep? Are the pets barkers? Do they bark at any little thing that moves? And so there are these set of questions that we're coming up with that we're learning as we're here, and we're processing the information that we're gathering and figuring out how we're going to vet things in the future to make sure that we're having the best experience possible.
And I think here was a really big surprise because we have been pet sitting since 2015, but we would do maybe 4 or 5 sits a year. And that was really interspersed with like we'd take a trip every single month. And maybe we do a 2-week or 4-week house sit here and there, but we do like interspersed with hotels and Airbnbs and all kinds of things like that. So going from house sit to house sit to house sit to house sit, it's very normal, especially in a new house sit for us, where like that you don't get great sleep for a little bit. The dogs that we're with now barked the entire first night we were here, the whole first night. And it took them a little time to calm down.
Adjust to us.
Yeah. So if you're just moving and having that kind of dynamic where the pets aren't settled with you, that is really tough on your sleep. So, yeah,
I think one of the things is we feel like it's like we're noobs.
It's like we've never traveled.
That's right. Not only have we never traveled, we've never house sat before. And I think part of it again because our hand was sort of forced with this cancellation, and it just forced us to do some things quickly that we probably shouldn't have done. But again, like we said, it's just a learning process and something that we're working through.
And they're not bad sits. I don't know,
Yeah.
they're wonderful sits. They're wonderful people. They're wonderful pets and all of that. It's just we need to be a little more choosy with our own personality, especially doing it back to back to back with this lifestyle. We're going to need to figure out how to do this for the long run before we burn out. So I think it's so interesting that we're doing this live in front of people because we're not sharing stories that happened last year after the fact. Like we're going through these tough times with you watching.
Yeah.
For good or for bad.
Yeah. And the times being tough, it's all relative. So I was telling Amy, we've seen whales we've never seen before. I got
Hawaii.
to hold a sloth.
In Honduras.
We've been with these amazing pets.
In beautiful places.
In beautiful places. We've had incredible weather. So we have had
We've had great food.
We've had great food. So we got to see our family in Berkeley. So
and friends along the way.
And friends along the way. So we have had
this is just since
pretty
January.
amazing set
we took
of
a cruise.
Weeks. But it just there's this learning thing we're working through now, and we're
We're trying to find our stride, and we're having some trouble finding our stride, and we're looking forward to like getting into it. We know that there are some, we hear from our other nomadic friends that this is not unusual. Those who are in their first year, hopefully we'll forget all about this in like 3 years. We're like, oh yeah, it's like no problem. But you're going to see this documented here that right now it's a little bit of a problem.
It is. Soon enough, it'll be over, though.
Now, before we sign off, I do want to let you know about a few places that we are planning to spend some time in. If you live in these areas or you're passing through, please put a comment down below because we want to meet you in these places. Number one, we're going to be in New Orleans for about 2 weeks at the end of March. We're also going to be in the Phoenix area for a week in the beginning of March. I should have started with that. And then we're in the Winter Garden west of Orlando area for about a month, actually for a month. That starts, I think, like April 7th or so, like that. So we're not going to be in Orlando because it's a little bit of a drive when we're house sitting. So we're going to be sticking to Winter Garden. But if you're in any of these areas, we're going to be getting together. And I don't know what that looks like. I don't know if anyone's going to join us. But I certainly would like to meet you if you are in these areas. So please make sure you put a comment down below so that we can meet you. And we'll see you next Wednesday.
Sayonara.